Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a big box of, well, fairly large box of violin recordings, the complete recordings on GEG of Wolfgang Schneiderhan, a wonderful, wonderful violinist, possibly the great violinist of the 20th century of the German school. And what was the German school? Well, that's a really good question. Violinists will tell you. They held the bow with their pinky down here and the violin like this, and who knows. I mean, it looks pretty normal to me. I don't know the technical details. They played with a rather slimmer tone with less vibrato than those of the Franco-Belgian school. That's the general rule, but it's one of those general rules that's more honored in the breach because let's face it. The members of the German school, they live 10 minutes away from the Franco-Belgian school. They could just as well have been Franco-Belgian. They played, depends who they were trained with and what they did. Anyway, that's Schneiderhan. That's all you need to know. He was great. He was absolutely great. And there are, 24 discs in here, which, may fall out and kill you when you try to open it. You'll notice here, by the way, that they have finally gotten wise to the fact that these things could, expose DG to a lawsuit for crushed toes or something, and they actually taped it closed. See the tape there? A little shiny thing there? Yes. They are now taping these suckers shut, which really goes to show you that they really never should have packaged them this way in the first place. Doesn't it? Yes. Well, that's not going to stop them. So here we are. Let's get it out. These are original jackets. And look, we have discovered our new video and audio streaming service, Stage Plus. I think I'll pass. So let's put Stage Plus. I don't know. We'll stuff it over here somewhere. There we go. And let's see what's on here. And there's a lot on here. He had very Catholic taste. He did. Schneiderhan. He was really a wonderfully perceptive artist. He had a lovely tone, by the way. And let's see. What have we got? Starting with Bach and the Festival Strings Lucerne under Rudolf Baumgartner. We all remember him. You have the Bach usual concerti and the Partita for solo violin number 1 in D minor with the chaconne, the big chaconne. Oh my goodness. It's very chaconistic. And then we've got another Bach thing. Was that mono? Yeah, that was mono. And this is mono in stereo. We get Bach Violin Concerto in A minor with the Collegium Musicum Zurich under Paul Zacher. These are all wonderfully anachronistic interpretations. Brandenburg Concerto number 1, Brandenburg Concerto number 4, and the Cantata Weichet nur betrübt Schatten with Irmgard Seefried and those people, and André Lardrot, oboe, and people like that. It's more Bach. Let's just put it that way. And we've got, Bach, look! The violin sonatas, the 6 sonatas for violin and continuo with Karl Richter. These are famous German performances of the German school. They've held up very well, I think, actually. They're musical and they're intelligent and they're lovely, and I enjoy them. And this is a great one. This is the Beethoven Violin Concerto with Eugen Joachim with the crazy cadenzas adapted by Schneiderhan from the cadenzas in the piano concerto. So you've got the timpani and all that stuff. They're not as freakazoid as the Schnittke cadenzas, but they are quite interesting. And Joachim is just a fabulous conductor, and it's with the Berlin Phil, and what's not to love. And then we've got Beethoven Violin Concerto with Eugen Joachim. Again, with the Berlin Phil. Did there could be 2 of these? CD5. No, this is with Joachim. This is the 1962, and this one is 1959. So there we go. Yes, there were 2 of them. They're almost identical. My goodness. I didn't even know that there were 2 of them. I did actually, but when I was listening to this box. That is so funny. I pulled out the Beethoven Concerto. I thought, okay, I listened to the Beethoven Concerto. I have to go back and listen to this one. It's a little tiny bit slower than the 1962 remake. Yes. Yeah, 3 years apart. Go figure. Let's see what we got here. Beethoven Violin Concerto. Holy cow. With Schneiderhan of the Berlin Philharmonic, Paul van Keppen. This is the mono one. Okay, I knew about this one. This one is rather closer to the 62. I think maybe that's why they went back and did it again. Did you really need to do it 3 times? Well, Well, forget 3 times. 4 times! Here it is with Furtwängler. Isn't this fun? Oh my God. Yeah, I have this one too. This is a live recording from, let's see, what was the year here in mono? Does it say when it was? Why doesn't it say when it was? It should say when it was, but it doesn't. It doesn't give a date. Isn't that bizarre? This is with the Joachim Cadenza, by the way. So that's a little better. I mean, it can't be published in 64, but it cannot possibly be done much later than 53 or whatever the year was that Furtwängler died, right? Let's just take a look at the book here. Here we are. Let's see. Book. Beethoven, violin concertos, endless quantities of them. There we go, 1953. Right, from the Titania Palast and all that stuff. Yeah, of course, we all know that version. I personally think that if you want Furtwängler, get Furtwängler and Menuhin on Testament, which is really very, very good. It's just in the best sound, frankly. So here we have the triple concerto, Beethoven and the Brahms double concerto, with Schneiderhan, Anda, Fournier, Starker, and all those people with Ferenc Fritzsche. What's not to love? It's first rate. Beethoven complete violin sonatas with Carl Siemann. Now, Carl Siemann was nobody's idea of a great soloist. All of his DG stuff has been released in a box, which means you get these twice. But as an accompanist, he was more than adequate, and they're lovely performances, so that's fine. Now, what do we got here? Beethoven, more violin sonatas. Oh, this is with Wilhelm Kempff. Yes, these are the mono Kempff ones. These are quite famous because you have Schneiderhan and Kempff. So that's very cool. Those are worth having, certainly. I mean, there is a lot of duplication in here, granted, because he was doing the German violin repertoire, which, first of all, is somewhat limited, at least the good German violin repertoire. And second of all, he did everything in mono. And his life, spanned the stereo and long playing divide. So you get all the stuff he did in mono, he redid in stereo. And that's just the way it happens. And we've got the Brahms violin concerto. Yeah, with Paul van Kempen. There's that one. And it's coupled, by the way, with the Frank Martin violin concerto. Marvelous recording of that with Ernest Ansermet and the Orchestre de la Suisse Romande, licensed from Decca. Yay! That was really very nice of them. It's the same company, of course. Then we've got the Brahms violin sonatas. Yes, here they are. The Brahms violin sonatas, 1, 2, 3, with Carl Siemann. And the Brahms violin sonatas again, this time with Friedrich Wöhler. These are the mono ones. And this is the stereo one. So, yeah, they're stereo. Okay. And let's see, Paul Hindemith. This is interesting. Sonata in C major for piano and violin from 1939. That's a charming work. It really is. And the Bartók second violin sonata and Prokofiev second violin sonata. Here they all are. That's really nifty. Again, with Carl Siemann. He was a sport. It was nice of him to do that stuff because it wasn't German. And then we've got Mendelssohn's violin concerto. Let's see what else. With Ferenc Fritzsche. Yay. This is the mono one. And the Bruch with Ferdinand Leitner, the Bamberg Symphony. And, again, I could get into the details of these performances, but it's not really necessary. I mean, these are classic versions by a major artist, and not all of them are going to be equally fabulous, and you will decide the extent to which you need this and how much you like it. I am not going to say that this is like Heifetz, the cosmic violin playing that you need to hear everything. It's much more limited than that in terms of repertoire, but not expressively, not at all. I mean, he was a wonderful, impulsive, expressive artist, and that's all we need to know about that. Mozart. Complete works for violin and orchestra. The Berlin Philharmonic soloist and conductor. So he takes responsibility for everything that happens here on these 2 discs. And well, he should, because they are lovely performances. Beautiful Mozart. Everybody talks about Grumio when we talk about Mozart. I like the new Gil Shahams, and we tend to, ignore, this guy because, frankly, his Mozart is a little bit more foursquare than those other performances. It is, admittedly, but it's so sincere and lyrically beautiful, and I find it hard to complain about. It's not major Mozart, and you can get away with a lot. I mean, it's beautiful. And here are 2 more violin concertos by Mozart, numbers 4 and 5, under Hans Schmidt Isserstedt. These were recorded, 1961 or thereabouts, with the Berlin Philharmonic in one and the NDR Symphony Orchestra in the other. And they sound rather like the ones that he does himself, actually. So, what have we got here? More Mozart. Oh, lots of Mozart. Let's get up to Mozart here. Mozart, violin concertos. Oh, just what we needed. Oh, how many of these are there? Concertos 4 and 5 with the Vienna Symphony and Ferdinand Leitner. These are monos. I mean, we don't need these. You do get a couple, some lovely concert arias with Irmgard Siegfried. L'amoroso sarò costante, which is glorious from Il Re Pastore, and Non temere amato bene from Idomeneo. Don't be afraid, my beloved. Oh, yes. Then we've got 3 discs of Mozart violin sonatas with Carl Siemann. I mean, I am not a fan of the Mozart violin sonatas. I find them rather uninteresting, except for like the late ones. The Kerschel's 4s, well, 380 is here, the E-flat sonata. That's a major one. From those and above, they're kind of fun. Below that, I know some of you will say they're magnificent. You love them all equally. They're just fabulous. Go ahead, have a good time. Let's see, Dvorak and Schubert. The Schubert sonatinas, they're just lovely. They're really sonatas and they're delicious. And it's coupled with the Dvorak sonatina with Walter Klein piano. This is a great record. I mean, this is the first time. This was my first encounter, I think, with the Schuberts and Walter Klein for that matter. I mean, just wonderful music making, absolutely wonderful. And there's more here. You get more the Schubert sonatinas. You get the duo for piano, violin and piano in A major, and the Fantasy, which is just a work of genius. The C major Fantasy and his Rondo Brillant, and then finally Richard Strauss's violin sonata, also with Walter Klein. These are high points, frankly, because Klein was such a great pianist. He was better than Siemann. Let's not kid ourselves. You know, Siemann is a good accompanist. He was there, but Klein was a true partner. You know what I mean? And then we've got, let's see, Schubert. Oh, the stuff all over with Carl Zeman and mono. Good, we could ignore it. And the Schumann violin sonata and Franck sonata with Carl Zeman. And the Stravinsky duo concertant and Debussy sonata. And wow, look at all that stuff. That's nice to have. I mean, you know, even if Zeman isn't, you know, the most, he's no Martha Argerich, put it that way. Hans Werner Henze. Oh, the violin concerto under Karel Anschurl. No, it's Stravinsky with Karel Anschurl. What am I talking about? Looking at the back here. Here's the Henze violin concerto under Hans Werner Henze with Bavarian Radio, and the Stravinsky violin concerto with Anschurl, which usually showed up coupled to the Shostakovich 10th. Remember in the DG Originals series? But these are hot performances. And let's see. What is this thing? The Italian Settecento, Series A. Vivaldi, the Four Seasons, with the festival strings and Baumgartner. Well, you know, what do you expect? You get what you get. And finally, encores. Encores by Bartók, Brahms, Chopin, Debussy, Despentes, Elgar, Faya, Kreisler, Martineau, arabesque. Mussorgsky, Nash, Dorothea Mackenzie, Reger, Ries, Schubert, and Stravinsky, with all kinds of people and Irmgard Siegfried singing, Albert Hirsch and Hans Prignitz and Eric Verba piano, and it's all kinds of stuff. Okay, so that's the whole pile of stuff, and now you know what it is. And now that you know what it is, you know if you needed 34 CDs. I said like 24 at the beginning, didn't I? I misread that. 34 CDs, which is kind of a remarkable thing for one violinist. Yes, there's lots of duplication. It's a collector's edition for people who like to compare the same guy doing the same stuff, or who don't care and want to have it anyway because they're obsessive compulsive, as I am. So there you go. Wolfgang Schneiderhan, complete on DG. Marvelous artist, great violin playing, and some astoundingly great performances. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.